Greetings, 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 greetings. Grand rising, peace, love, harmony, and light. This is Chief Kalanago with a video. Today we're gonna get into a few things. Alright, but first want to say give thanks to the Great Spirit. I want to give thanks to my ancestors, always, using me as a vessel, as a tool to bring the information to the people. You know what I mean? So I'm here serving my purpose, and I'm in a great space. All right. I'm filled with bliss. I'm filled with gratitude. So with that being said, allow me to say Sakpase, Mabrikwa, Halito, Osio, Islam. What the deal is. Wagwan. All right. So this video by no means, like I said, is I'm not an attorney. I don't give legal advice. However, the information is public information, so I'm just sharing it with people. All right. Some people may not be aware of the information. Some people may not know where to find the information, but that's neither here or there. For me, it's a matter of educating, and just dropping the knowledge. They say knowledge is power. Well, I like to, expound on that and say, well, knowledge is power, yes, but it's the true application of the knowledge. That's where the real power comes in, because you could know something, but don't know how to apply it. And I'll give you an example of that. When I was at the age of 7.5 or 8, in the islands, right? There's this, we have, of course, we have the beach, right? And we had what's called a harbor. Now, we don't call it harbor, we call it jetty, all right? Jetty, that's what we call it, all right? Jetty, jetty. So a jetty is a harbor. A harbor is where a ship comes in and it's anchored, right? So, but we call it a jetty. So every Saturday and Sunday, we would go sit on the jetty and just dive in the sea water. Now, for me, I couldn't swim at that age, right? Now, I knew how to swim in my mind, but I had never gotten in the water and actually swam. But my cousins, I'm talking about younger or even older, they were able to go ahead and dive. And I'm not talking about the water where it touches your knees. I'm talking about where big ships came in. And my cousins younger than me, 5 and 6, diving in the water. I had cousins older than me diving in the water. And I'm sitting on the jetty right there, and I'm like, in my mind, yo, I could swim. I could do this. All right. I'm a professional swimmer in my mind. So one Saturday, my cousins, they were tired of just me sitting around, just watching everybody dive in the water. Unbeknownst to me, one of my cousins came from the back and just pushed me in the water. All right. I'm going to tell you no lie, family. When I hit that water, okay, now we have a real sea water in the islands. So I'm talking about sea water that's salty, right? As soon as I touched that water, I was so scared. I drank my first gulp of water. And normally they say when you take at least 3, that means you're about to drown. So I took my first gulp of water and I'm going down. I took the second gulp of water, and the first thing, survival kicked in. I'm not drowning. I'm not going to take 3 gulps of water. All right. So everything that I knew in my mind, because I told myself I knew how to swim in my mind, but I had never done it. So everything that I knew in my mind, man, I just started to apply it. All right. And all of a sudden I started to swim. And from that day on, nobody could keep me away from that jetty. Nobody could keep me away from diving in that water. All right. In other words, up to this present day, I could swim like a fish. Now, I'm not saying that to impress you. I'm saying that to impress upon you, just to solidify what I just said about having knowledge. It's like having the knowledge. You may have the knowledge, but don't know how to apply the knowledge. Goes back to the story I just told you. Yes, I had the knowledge of swimming in my mind, but what good was it if I didn't know how to apply it? And when my back was pushed against the wall, I had two choices. I was either going to swim or I was going to die. And that day, at the age of 7.5, I decided that I wasn't going to die and I was going to swim. I was going to apply the knowledge. So it's the same thing in everything that you do. Once you get the knowledge, make it applicable to your life. That's how you improve yourself. That's how you become better. People say when you know better, you do better. I always like to take it a step further. And I say when you know better, you should do better. Because a lot of times people know better and they don't. All right? The choice is up to you. Nobody could force you to make your life better. So I'm saying all that to say I'm giving you the information, but you have to learn how to apply it. Knowing is one thing, but the application of the knowledge is something different. Okay? So, once again, not an attorney, not giving legal advice. However, we as indigenous people, we are a distinct people, and we have a right to self-identify, okay? We have a right to be autonomous, and we have every right not to be forced to assimilate into a culture or a society that's foreign to our culture. All right. And anyone who's forcing us to do that, okay, that's a violation of international human rights law. Keep that in mind. So anyone else who feel that the message may apply to them, by all means. But I specifically make sure I mentioned indigenous people in the title. And I'm saying that because I don't want it to come across as if I'm soliciting United States citizens. I'm not doing that. However, if United States citizens think that this may apply to them, by all means, you have my consent to use the information. But this is strictly targeted to indigenous people. All right? Just so you know, I just want to make my disclaimer. All right? So we're going to talk about marriage licenses today, because a lot of this, a lot of that information people don't know. And people are not aware that a marriage license is a contract. That certificate is a contract. And indigenous people get caught up in that situation of getting permission from a corporation to get married to their partners. Okay? And not realizing within that contract, there are clauses that you are not aware of. Not realizing that you are making the corporation a party to your marriage, okay? And therefore, as a result, the product of the marriage, meaning that the children, they don't belong to you. They belong to the corporation, all right? They have stake in that marriage. They have a stake in everything that comes from that marriage, all right? So we as indigenous people, we have to be aware of that. Now, you may have one of the spouses, whether it may be, or your partner, whether it may be the man or the woman, who is adamant about, well, you know what, I want to get a license because they feel that's the traditional way. Okay? That is because they are lost. They don't have culture. Okay? They don't know who they are, because that form of seeking permission to get married from a corporation is not part of our culture. So I cannot tell a man or a woman what to do. But for me, if it were me, no woman could get me, okay, to get married and go ask for permission and get a certificate for that. All right? If a woman is going to try to force me to do that, well, guess what? She's going to be looking at a single man for a very long time, because I'm not going to do it. That is not part of my culture. They say when you know better, you do better. Well, I say when you know better, you're supposed to do better. So moving forward, this is for indigenous people to do better. You dig? All right? So with that being said, let's proceed. I'm going to share some information with you, an excerpt, and let's make this thing happen, man. Let's do this. All right, let's do this. Let me get this here, pull this here to the side. And once again, for those of you who wish to support, by all means, a lot of the information that you're going to be learning here, I guarantee you, you're not going to learn that in school. All right, nobody's going to teach you that. All right, so show your appreciation. I don't feel I have to, or I should, beg you to support. That's just something you should be willing to do of your own free will. So my information is in the link below. All right, so I'm going to share my screen and we're going to get into this build. All right. Here we go. Okay. Now, I'm not the author of this piece right here, but I found it very informative. So sharing is caring, and I'm selling that information to you. All right. Now here we go. I'm sending that information to you. Did you know what you got into when you utilized a marriage license from the state? I'm going to read that again. Give me a second here. Did you know what you got into when you utilized a marriage license from the state? You are tricked into signing your children over to the state. Children are the fruit of a marriage, like I stated earlier. Marriage licenses, the real truth. And that's by Virgil Cooper. All right. So I just want to acknowledge the author of this piece. All right. Enlightening conversation with a marriage license bureau. So that's a conversation that Virgil Cooper had with a marriage license bureau. All right. About 15 years ago, my former wife of 26 years filed for divorce. We had 7 children, 5 daughters and 2 sons. Our youngest at the time, our second son, was 5 years old. At the time, I prepared a counterclaim to petition for dissolution that her attorney filed in domestic relations DR. All right, DR stands for domestic relations when it comes to the family court, right? I met one afternoon with the head of the Maricopa County Superior Court Marriage License Bureau in downtown Phoenix. The Marriage License Bureau was headed by a young woman of about age 25. I asked her to explain to me the general and statutory implications of the marriage license. She was very cooperative and called in an assistant, a tall black man who at the time was working on an operations manual for internal department use. Now it says black man. We're not going to get into the semantics of that. We know we are not black, but we're just going to leave that there for the sake of the piece that the man wrote. She deferred for most technical explanations to her assistant. He walked through the technicalities of the marriage license as it operates in Arizona. He mentioned that the marriage licensing is pretty much the same in other states, but there are differences. One significant difference he mentioned was that Arizona is one of the 8 western states that are community property states. The other states are common law states, including Utah, with exception of Louisiana, which is a Napoleonic code state. So if I were you, I would look into, because you have to know the territories that you're in. Because you see, people are playing this game, and they are playing a game, for one, they don't know how to play the game, and 2, they don't know who their players are. How are you going to win? Okay, so just to recap, Arizona is one of the 8 western states that are community property states. So please Look up what that means. When a state is a community property states. All right, look up what that means. Also, other states are common law states, such as Utah, with the exception of Louisiana, which is a Napoleonic code state. So you need to look up what a common law state is, because a lot of these states, they're common law states, but yet still they govern through a municipal de facto system, when they should really be dealing with you from a common law state. All right, so you have to know these differences. Also, look up in Louisiana, which is a Napoleonic code state. Look up to see what that means, because when you're dealing with the judicial system, you have to know how to present yourself. Okay, you have to know what kind of jurisdiction that you are in. All right, let us proceed. Oh, come on, man. Where we at? Give me a second here. All right. Let me just jump to part 4, huh? Okay, Indiana. All right, here we go. Okay, we are reading here now. Let me just, wherever I'm highlighting, that's where I'm reading right now. Okay. All right. He then explained some of the technicalities of the marriage license. He said, first of all, the marriage license is a secular contract between the parties and the state. Okay, the state is the principal party in the secular contract. Now, for study purposes, let us look at secular contract and see what it means. All right. When you are studying, sometimes if you just want to go ahead and look up the definition of something, all you do is you highlight it, you right click, and you just go and look up, and you click on that, and then the definition will come up. So you don't have to necessarily go out of the browser. It's going to do it for you automatically. Okay. So a secular contract, an agreement between two or more parties for the doing or not doing of something specified. An agreement enforceable by law, on as an adjective on the contract governed or arranged by a special contract. So with that being said, now what we know what a contract is, and it is telling you that the state is the principal. What is a principal? A principal is the leading, the head. Okay. So the principal is the state is the principal party. Wife is the head of the home. No, they are not. Whoever gives you the contract benefits the most. That's a fact in contract law. So therefore, the state is the principal party in that contract. The husband and wife are secondary or inferior parties. Okay? The secular contract is a three-way contract between the state, the principal, and the husband and the wife as the other two legs of the contract. Okay? Trio, trilateral contract. All right? He said, in traditional sense, a marriage is a covenant between the husband and wife and God. That is no sense. But you see, what they are doing is not traditional. Okay? But in the secular contract with the state, reference to God is dotted line and not officially considered included in the secular contract at all. So they, in other words, the state is playing God. They're taking the place of God when it says, when God put a man and a woman together, no one could put asunder, whatever, they say. But the point is I'm making is the state is taking the place of God in your marriage. All right. He said, the husband and wife wish to include God as a party in their marriage. That is a dotted line. They will have to add in their own minds. The state's marriage license is strictly secular, he said. He said further that what he meant by the relationship to God being a dotted line meant that the state regards mention of God as irrelevant, even meaningless. All right? So when the state speaks of God, they're not talking about this deity that you think you pray to. So it's meaningless. All right? In his description of the marriage license contract, the related one other dotted line, he said, in the traditional religious context, marriage was a covenant between the husband and the wife and God, with a husband and wife joined as one. This is not the case in a secular realm of the state's marriage license contract. The state is the principal or dominant party. The husband and wife are merely contractually joined as what? Business partners, not in any religious union. So know this, as indigenous people, when you are getting married and you go get a license, it is only a business. And you are a business partner, and the state is the owner of the business, and they have made you partners. They have made you secondary partners in that business. It is not a religious or a spiritual union like you think it is or what you convince yourself it is. Okay? They may even be considered, he said, connected to each other by another dotted line. The picture he was trying to paint was that of a triangle with the state at the top and a solid line extending from the apex, the state down the left side to the husband, and a separate solid line extended down the right side to the wife. A dotted line merely showing that they consider themselves to have entered into a religious union of some sort that is irrelevant to the state. Okay? And we have that diagram right there. We'll go over the diagram in a minute. He further mentioned that this religious overtone is recognized by the state by requiring that the marriage must be solemnized either by a state official or by a minister of religion that has been deputized by the state to perform the marriage ceremony and make return of the signed and executed marriage license to the state. Now, if you don't know, your pastor or your minister is a deputy of the state. So when y'all think y'all in church praying to God, no, you're pledging allegiance to the state. That's your God. And the pastor is a deputy of the state. All right? It has always been that way. The marriage license, secular contract, at the state, at the top, you have the state, which is the primary party. Okay? And then to the left, you have the husband, the secondary party. To the right, you have the wife, the secondary party. And you have a dotted line. In other words, that is insinuating that it is not solid. That connection or that reference to God is not solid. It's only insinuated. Okay? It is assumed. It is assumed that that is the case. All right? That is the assumption that they allow you to make. Now let us continue to read. Again, he emphasized that the marriage is a strictly secular relationship so far as the state is concerned, and because it is looked upon as a privileged business enterprise, various tax advantages and other political privileges have become attached to the marriage license contract that have nothing to do at all to do with marriage as a religious covenant or bond between God and man and woman. So once again, He emphasized. Now that is the um that is the officer talking. All right. He emphasized that the marriage is strictly a relationship so far as the state is concerned, and because it is looked upon as what? A privilege, business. So, as indigenous people, why are you asking a state, okay, that is not part of our culture, that was set up on our land? Why are you asking them permission to be one with your spouse? Because once they get involved, it's a privilege. It's no longer a right. That's why they could come into your home and do what they want. And you wonder why. And you get mad when they come take your children. Well, that's why. Because you made them the principal partner in your business. All right? Also, because you see, you are chasing privileges. You're chasing tax benefits. You're chasing political privileges. Because you see, you always want to chase the illusion. Always chasing the illusion. All right? And for those of you who leave in comments, I can't see what you're living. All right? So I'm not ignoring you. I'm actually just going to go through the lecture right now. So if you have any questions, please do that after. All right? By way of reference, if you would like to read a legal treatise on marriage, one of the best is Principles of Community Property by William de Funiac. All right, so if you want to learn more about treatise or treatise on marriage, meaning that marriage is a treaty. So the treatise on marriage, one of the best sources is Principles of Community Property by William de Funiac. All right? It is telling you that the marriage is a treaty and it's principles of the community property. All right? So that's a good source of reference. At the onset, he explains that the community property law descends from Roman civil law through the Spanish codes, 600 AD, written by the Spanish jurist consort. So once again, we are dealing with a Roman society, civil society. And we're not going to go into who the original Romans was, all right? We're not going to get into that. What's done in the past is done in the past. But you still have to be aware of the past so that you don't repeat the same experience of the past, all right? In the civil law, the marriage is considered to be a for-profit venture or profit-making venture, even though it may never actually produce a profit in operation. And as the wife goes out to the local market to purchase food, stuffs, and other supplies for her marriage household, she is replenishing the stocks of the business. Okay? So when your wife goes out and do grocery shopping and all that stuff, what she's doing is she's replenishing the stocks of the business. All right? To restate, in the civil law, the marriage is considered to be a business venture. That is, for profit business venture. Moreover, as children come into the marriage household, the business venture is considered to have borne fruit. Okay? To have borne fruit. So the children are the fruits of that business. So if you are a farmer and you are growing food and you plant your seeds, and then all of a sudden your seeds bloom into fruits, who do the fruits belong to? Obviously the fruits belong to the farmer. It is the same thing with your marriage. Okay? The state is the farmer. They planted the seed. They became a party, the principal party in that business venture. And anything that's produced from that union or the planting of those seeds belong to the principal contractor. Okay? You are just a secondary party to the business. You feel me? You are board members. It is as simple as that. Now, once again, I know cognitive dissonance is going to kick in. And after reading that information, a lot of you indigenous people would still want to go ahead and do it the secular way. But hey, what do Chief Kalanago know? I don't know anything, right? Now, back to the explanation by the Maricopa County Superior Court. Marriage Bureau's administrative assistants. He went to explain that every contract must have consideration. Keep that in mind. Any contract that you get into, there have to be consideration. So in other words, if somebody gives you a contract, make sure you look at the consideration and do your due diligence and make sure that consideration is for your benefit and not just theirs. All right? Where is the consideration at? Any contract that is one-sided is a problem. Okay? The state offers consideration in the form of the actual license itself. So they're saying, well, you know what? We are giving you permission. Here's a license. That's our consideration. Mind you, their consideration is, for them, their benefit is they get to control your home, they get to control you, and they get to own your children. Now, does that sound fair to me in a contract? No. But because of your lack of knowledge, because of your ignorance, you perish. Let's proceed. The piece of paper, the marriage certificate of marriage. The other part of consideration by the state is the privilege to be regulated by statute. All right? So once, as indigenous people, you subscribe to their certificates, giving you permission, you are regulated by statute. So certain things you cannot do in your home. If it is not laid out in their statutes, then you cannot run your home the way that you want to run your home. They make the rules, they make the laws, they make the statutes, and that govern your marriage. All right? He added that this privilege to be regulated by statute includes all related statutes and all court cases as they are ruled on by the courts, and all statutes and regulations into the future in the years following the commencement of marriage. He said, in a way, the marriage license contract is a dynamic or flexible, even changing contract as time goes along, even though the husband and wife didn't realize that. So in other words, in layman's terms, what's being said is the terms and conditions of your marriage may change even if you are not aware of it, because the basis or the foundation of your marriage is literally, it lies within the terms and conditions of the contract that was given to you by the principal, which is the state. All right? So you may make little rules in your home and come to find out, nah, those are not truly the rules that you're operating by. Food for thought. Okay? Now, my thought on this is, can it literally be considered a true contract as one becomes aware of the failure by the state to make full disclosure of the terms and conditions? Now, within contractual law, if there is no full disclosure prior to signing the contract, then that contract is voidable. Okay? You could rescind the contract on the basis of fraud, meaning that there was no full disclosure of the terms and conditions of that contract. All right? Now, they may make you think, oh, well, you can't do that. Yes, within common law, that's your right. In fact, within contractual law, that's your right to rescind that contract for failure by the state to make full disclosure of the terms and conditions. Okay? A contract must be entered into knowingly, intelligently, intentionally, and with fully informed consent. Otherwise, technically, there is no contract. All right? So that's how you could refute that contract, because there was no full disclosure. You didn't get into that contract knowingly, intelligently. All right? You didn't go into that contract intentionally, and you were not informed. Okay? You were tricked into that. because you were not told the full extent of the contract. All right. Another way to look at the marriage license contract with the state is as the contract of adhesion, a contract between two desperate, unequal parties. Again, a flawed contract, such as a contract with the state, is said to be a separate performance. Contracts as to the privilege, duties, and responsibilities that attach. Consideration on the part of the husband and the wife is the actual fee paid and the implied agreement to be subject to the state statutes, rules, and regulations, and all court cases ruled on related to marriage law, family law, children, and property. He emphasized that this contractual consideration by the bride and groom places them in a definite and defined by law position inferior and subject to the state. He commented that very few people realize this. He also said that this is very important to understand that children born to a marriage are considered by law as what? Contract bearing fruits. All right? Like I told you in the Bible, it is allegory. When God told you to be fruitful and multiply, okay, that could mean so as above, so as below. So what the state and governments have done is they take aspects, okay, or how would I put it, characteristics of the spiritual realm, and they apply it into the flesh. In other words, they make the word flesh. So didn't God tell you in the Bible, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth? Your home is considered to be the earth. That's your world. That's where your laws, you govern and you make your laws. That's your domain. Okay? That is you creating your own universe. And within your own universe, you make your laws. So when you're being fruitful and multiplying, those are the laws of your home. But you gave away that contract. You gave away that right to accept privileges. So therefore, the fruits that's being born in your home belongs to the principal contractor, which is who are actually playing God, when you should be the one playing God in your home. Okay? Meaning the children primarily belong to the state, even though the law never comes out and says so in so many words. It is implied because you didn't read the contract properly. Okay? All those little codes, you didn't take the time to find out. You were just so happy as a man to go on your knees and beg a woman or ask a woman to marry you. That's another thing. I would never go on my knees and for nobody. Me as a man, I'm not going to go on my knees and ask a woman to marry me. If I were to ask a woman to marry me, I'm going to stand and look her in her face. Okay? I'm not going to do that. And I wouldn't advise her to go down on her knees and ask me to marry me either. I wouldn't do that. Let us look at each other. And if we're going to get married, we could do it in a traditional sense. And some of you may ask, well, Chief, what's a traditional sense? Well, back in antiquity, the moment you enter into a woman, that was your wife. That's how sacred sex was. Okay, that's how sacred sex was. Go look in the Bible. Did it say anything about marriage? It says what? Well, Abraham knew his wife. What do you think knew his wife meant? That meant he had sex with his wife. Okay? So the further back you go into traditions is from the moment you enter a woman, that woman became your wife. All right? And if you want to even take it a little more closer to the tradition they have now, that was just done in the family. And then you had one of, let's just say, one of the chiefs or, a shaman, or you had a spiritual advisor would just witness the union, and probably that would be just set in stone or on a tree or in a Bible. Okay, that's the traditional way. You did. Just wanted to point that out. Okay? Now, let me see. He also said that it's very important to understand that the children born within the marriage. Okay, cool. So your children belong to the state. All right. That's why, once again, they could just come take your children and you, oh, well, they're my children. How come they do? No, they're not your children. The first contract was the marriage. You already gave up all your rights. The second contract was the birth certificates. Okay. So as indigenous people, we should not be subjected. In fact, we are not subjected. It's a choice. It is done voluntarily. You do it because, hey, you want to be part of the Roman society. Go ahead. Go ahead. You aren't you all Romans? I'm just saying. Okay. In this regard, children born to the contract are regarded as contract bearing fruit. In the Bible, it's considered just, being fruitful and multiplying. But within this realm, in their government, the children are considered contract bearing fruit. He said it is vitally important for parents to understand two doctrines that became established in the United States during the 1930s. The first doctrine is parens parenti. Parens parenti. And the second is the doctrine of en loco parentis. I know what they both means, but we're gonna take a look at it and we're gonna get into that and we're gonna look it up. Okay, let's look it up, and then after that we'll look at local parenti or parentis. We'll go look at that. All right. All right. So it's not giving me that. Let me just highlight that for a second. All right. Copy that. And then go here. And let's just go to, because it's giving me amor. That's not what I'm looking for. Definition. All right. Parens parenti. Parens parenti, the government or any other authority regarded as the legal protector of citizens unable to protect themselves. The principle that political authority carries with it the responsibility of protection of citizens. All right, so parens parenti. All right, patria, but let me see. It's actually, patria, not parenti, patria. Okay, the government or state or any other authority regarded as the legal protector of the citizens unable to protect themselves. So when you sign this marriage certificate or this birth certificates, any certificate with the state, any contract, automatically the doctrine of parens patria kicks in. It is one of the underlying default terms and conditions, all right, that the United States adopted in the 1930s. What is parens patria? Is what? The government or the authority regarded as what? The legal protector, because you are minors, you are incompetent citizens, unable to protect yourself. Okay? Y'all got to realize how deep this is, man. Not realizing the detriments of these contracts. The second is the doctrine of en loco parenti or parentis. Like I said, I know what it means, but let us go look at it. Because you're giving the schools authority to take the place of the parents. Well, let's go see if Chief Kalanago know what he's talking about. Where we have that at, en loco, there we go. All right, let us do a little reading, shall we? Because reading is fun for the mental. That's what they say, right? Let's read, shall we? Okay. In loco parenti or parentis, in loco parentis, Latin, in the place of the parent. Stop right there. That's all it means. Okay? I'm going to elaborate some more and give you a little bit of the history. But in loco parentis means in the place of the parents. So when you sign these contracts, you are literally giving up all your rights and giving that authority to take your place. In that case, it is the school. All right, let's read some more. Because like I said, reading is fun for the mental. In loco parentis, Latin, in the place of the parent, the legal doctrine under which an individual assumes, okay, it's an assumption, parental rights, duties, and obligations without going through formalities of what legal adoption. So the school or the teachers are adopting your children without going through formalities of legal adoption, because you are signing your children and your life away. Oh man. And y'all wonder why we are going through what we are going through. You think it's because you're black. Show me what part of your skin is black. I'll wait. You see, ignorance is one thing, man. And it's there, like I said before, there's nothing wrong in being ignorant. You did. Nothing wrong in being ignorant, because ignorant just means unaware. That's all it means. We are all ignorant of something. At one point, I was ignorant of all this. But you see, I have to study. I have to turn the TV off for over 10 years. Even got to the point where I got out of relationships, celibate for 3 years, just studying. People thought I was crazy. But I knew I had to educate myself. The greatest weapon that you have is your mind. So when your children are being taken, when all this stuff is happening to you, don't think it's because you're black. Oh, the system is unfair. Oh, the system is this. No, there's nothing wrong with the system. Yes, Chief Kalanago said it. The system is not broken. People are uneducated. That's the problem. The business is running just the way it's supposed to. It's a business. Nothing wrong with the business. Yes, there may be a few adjustments that may be needed, but the business is running just fine. It's a very profitable business for those who are making the profit. But how can you profit from something when you don't know you are part of a business, when you don't know you have shares in the business, when you don't know you have stake in the business, when you don't know that you are a beneficial owner or have beneficial interests in the business? That's why they tell you, don't take it personal. It's just business. But you want to take it personal. Oh, I'm black. Oh, I'm this and I'm that. No, it is because of your ignorance. Let us read a little more. In loco parentis is a legal doctrine. Once again, a legal doctrine. There's a difference between law and legal. Legal is of law, but law is not of legal. You feel me? But we'll get into that. In the loco parentis is a legal doctrine describing a relationship similar to that of a parent to a child. It refers to an individual who assumes parental status and responsibilities for another individual, usually a young person, without formally adopting the person. For example, legal guardians are said to stand in loco parentis with respect to their wards. Okay, their wards. Man, let us go look at the definition of wards. Y'all think this is a game, huh? A ward is the subject. Okay, y'all gonna learn today if you really choose to learn. I'm willing to teach. Definition of ward. Okay, a separate room in a hospital, typically you want allocated to a particular type of patient. All right. 2, an administrative division of a city or borough that typically elects and is represented by a councillor or councillors. Well, let us see what we're talking at. Well, we need a, they're not giving me exactly what I want. Okay, yeah, a guard. Okay, a guard protect. So basically, a ward is they are a guardian. Basically, their job is to protect. You feel me? So they become a guardian. So when you're a ward of someone, okay, that means they are your guardian. They are there to guard you. All right. Here we go. Oh no, that's not where I was at. I was reading the other one here in local parenti. All right. Creating a relationship that has special implications for what? Insurance and workers' compensation law. Okay. Let's read a little more. By far, the most common usage of in loco parentis relates to what? Teachers and students. That's what I wanted to get to. I don't have to go any further. All right. I put that in the link below so you could do your own reading and finish the rest of it. Okay? In loco parentis is what? The most common use of in loco parenti relates to what? Teachers and students. In other words, the teachers have adopted your children, okay, even though without formal, adoption papers, they are the guardian of your children. And because of the contract, they have more authority than you. There we go. I just wanted to drive that point home. Okay, let's read. Parens parenti means literally the parent of the community or the state, it more bluntly. All right, or the state, that is to put it more bluntly. The state is the undisclosed true parent. Anytime you get into a contract, they are your parents. All right, they tell you what to do. That's why they tell you when to walk, when to go to work, when to do this, and how to cross the street and all that. They are your parents. Isn't that what parents do for their children? Oh, well, go to bed, turn the TV off. It's time to eat. It's time to shower. It's the same thing. Can't y'all just see y'all are grown-ass kids? Grown-ass children. By the way, goats have kids. Okay? You are nothing but grown children. Parens patria is what kicked in. It's as simple as that. All right? But that contract is undisclosed, but they are the true parents. Let us read. Along this line, a 1930s Arizona Supreme Court case states that parents have no property right in their children. You see what I'm saying? Your children are your property. You see, y'all don't realize that. Oh, well, they took my children. No, you don't use the term children. You use your property. And I'm going to read it here again because people think I'll be making these things up. Okay, let's read this again. Right here. Along this line, a 1930s Arizona Supreme Court case states that parents have no property rights in their children and have custody of their children during good behavior at the sufferance of the state. At the sufferance of the state. I'm going to read that again because you see, sometimes you have to say it more than once so people could truly understand what's being said, because the brainwashing comes from repetition. So the deprogramming got to come through repetition. Don't just look at the video one time, oh, Chief, that was a great build. No, listen to it over and over and over again until it gets into your subconscious mind. Because you're going to forget it tomorrow and still go back for a license. Because as a man, a woman, she play on your a guilt trip. Oh, well, I want a license. Oh, if I don't do this, you don't love me. Well, woman, if that's what you think, I don't love you, well, go ahead and ask somebody to marry you. But you ain't going to trick me into that. Period. Y'all think it's a game. All right? Y'all think it's a game, man. This is real. Let's read this again. Along this line, A 1930s Arizona Supreme Court, a Supreme Court case states that parents have no property rights in their children. What does property rights have to do anything with your children? Because they're telling you that your children are property and you have no property rights because you have given away all those rights. All right? And have custody of your property / children during good behavior. In other words, you have to be on good behavior. Now, let me ask you a question. If your children are on good behavior, what you do? Don't you give them little gifts? Don't you? Oh, well, you can watch an extra hour of TV. Oh, you could go get some candy, or you could get a piece of cake, or you could get some ice cream. It's the same thing. You are nothing but grown children. And when you behave good, you are allowed to keep your children, your property, at the sufferance of the state. Now, that's a very key word. Let us go look at what sufferance means. Let's copy that. All right? And let's go look at the definition of that. All right? Let's do some real work. Like I told y'all before, I'm giving indigenous people information. All right? It's good to know who was here first and what we are and all this and all that. It's good to know that. But yet still, everybody's still in the same situation. So who's the one that's going to give you that information? Well, I'm just playing my part. That's it. All right? Sufferance. Absence of objection rather than genuine approval, tolerant. The suffering or undergoing of something bad or unpleasant. Now let us look at this again. The suffering or undergoing of something bad or unpleasant. So basically the study is saying if you are behaving yourself at the sufferance of the state, let us go see what it means again. A suffering or undergoing. In other words, whatever the state is telling you to do, if they're considered it to be good behavior, then you could keep the property, which is the children. Now, keyword, let us go look at the etymology of suffer, which I've showed you guys before, but for the purpose of this build, let us go look at the etymology of suffer. All right? Because the etymology of suffer means, okay, that you're allowing them to do that. It's a choice. Like I told y'all before, everything is a choice. All right, let's go look at the etymology of suffer. Etymology of suffer, a verb, mid 13th century. What does it mean? Allow to occur or continue, permit, tolerant, fail to prevent, suppress, also to be made to undergo, endure, be subjected to what? Pain, death, punishment, judgment, and grief. All right? So when you sign these contracts, what did they tell you? In what? Sufferance. Right? What does it mean? Did it say to undergo in the definition? Yes. Here we go. To allow, to occur, to continue. So whatever the state is dishing out, they are telling you through the sufferance of the state, meaning that you are allowing us to do this to you voluntarily. To do what? To bring you pain, death, punishment, judgment, and grief. But no, Chief, they only do it because I'm black. Do you think so-called white people are not going through this as well? Man, listen, man. Huh? Don't you think so-called Caucasian people aren't going through the same thing? Don't you think that so-called Mexicans, so-called Italians? No. The system has no color, family. The only color the system has is operating under the color of law. But y'all so twisted. Twisted thinking this is about the color of your skin. No, it's because of people's ignorance. That's what it is. Let us proceed. This means that parents may raise their children and maintain custody of their children as long as they don't offend the state. And guess what? The offense literally is determined by whether the state say what the offense is or not. All right? That's why they always say, "What? Oh, well, you have committed an offense." You see what I'm saying? Brothers and sisters, indigenous people, and whoever this applied to, look at what I'm showing you. Everything I'm showing you how coherent it is. Okay? As long you could keep the guardian or maintain custody, you only got custody of your children. That's all it is. They're not yours. So stop saying, "Oh, you get into some situation with your man or your woman. Oh, those are my children. Those are my kids." No, they're not. You only have custody. All right? As long as you don't offend the state. That's why they say, "Oh, well, you have committed this offense." But if in some manner displease the state can step in at any time. Did they say sometime? No, anytime, and exercise its superior status and take custody and control of its children, which is their property. The parents are only conditional caretakers. Thus, the doctrine of in loco parenti. Y'all gonna learn today if you choose to learn today. Okay? He also added a few more technical details. The marriage license is an ongoing contractual relationship with the state. Technically, the marriage license is a business license allowing the husband and wife in the name of the marriage to enter into contracts with third parties and contract mortgages and debts. So in other words, your license, that certificate, is being what? Traded. Okay? With third parties as contracts and mortgage debts. They can get a car loan. All right? Home mortgages and installment debts in the name of the marriage, because it is not only a secular enterprise, but it is looked upon by the state as a privileged business enterprise as well as a for-profit business enterprise. The marriage contract acquires property throughout its existence, and over time, it is hoped increased value. That's an investment. They're investing in your marriage. The marriage contract bears fruit by adding children. If sometime later the marriage fails and a divorce results, the contract continues in existence. So even if you get a divorce, the contract results, the contract continues in existence. The divorce is merely a contractual dissolution or amendment of the terms and conditions of the contract. So even when you're divorced, you really think you're getting a divorce, huh? No. It is merely a contractual what? Dissolution or an amendment of the terms and conditions of the contract. So the only way to literally get divorced is to rescind the contract and to make sure they cannot use your name under those terms, period. Y'all think this is a game, huh? Let us proceed. Jurisdiction of the state over the marriage, over the husband and wife, now separated, continues over all aspects of marriage, over marital property, and over children brought into the marriage. That is why family law and the domestic relations court calls divorce a what? A dissolution of marriage, because the contract continues in operation, but in amended or modified form. He also pointed out that the marriage license contract is one of the strongest, most binding contractual relationship the state has on the people. All right? Even stronger than the birth certificate. Because you cannot have the birth certificate without the union of a man and a woman, whether they married or not. They still come together and they bear fruit. All right. At the end of our hour-long meeting, I somewhat humorously asked if other people had come in and asked the questions I was asking. The assistant replied that in the several years he had worked there, he was not aware of anyone else asking these questions. He added that he was very glad to see someone interested in the legal implications of the marriage license and the contractual relationship it creates with the state. His boss, the young woman marriage bureau department head, stated, "You have to understand that people who come in here to get a marriage license are not in heat. The last thing they are in heat. In other words, y'all anxious, y'all in heat, right? The last thing they want to know is technical, legal, and statutory implications of the marriage license. I hope this is helpful information to anyone interested in getting more familiar with the contractual implications of the marriage license. The marriage license, as we know it, didn't come into existence until after the Civil War and didn't become standard practice in all the states until the 1900s, becoming firmly established. By 1920, in effect, the states or governments appropriated or usurped control of marriages in a secular form and in the process declared common law applicable to marriages abrogated." Okay? Essentially, the husband and wife became married to the state. Anything the two produced became the property and control of the state. Such contracts can be considered void due to non-disclosure, non-full disclosure, or can be terminated when full disclosure is realized. Okay? Here we go. So once again, let me just come back to the chat real quick. All right, so we did that, so I could close that out. We did color. So there's something deprivation in local parentis. We did that. All right. What else? Okay, so let me stop sharing here for a second. And we're gonna go back to a few things. And let me just come back to the chat and see what's popping. All right. Let me see what's up with you guys. How is everybody doing? Are we doing good so far? Like I said, I'm gonna be dropping my link right there. So once again, by all means, like I said, man, you tell me what this information is worth to you. You know what I'm saying? I could easily just go ahead and tell people, hey, you know what? I'm gonna do a lecture and pay for it. I'm not gonna do that. I don't think I should charge you for giving you information like that. All right. So I am doing it out of the kindness of my heart because I care. All right. So, by all means, be fair in return and be loving in return to support in return. All right. Now, once again, I'm doing this strictly from an indigenous perspective, and I have my reasons for putting it that way. Okay. I have my reasons for putting it that way. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to go into another part of the build and show you how you are able to enforce these things as indigenous people. All right. And not be subjected. All right. So here we are. We're going to get into what, because sometimes, a lot of these corporations, they try to make you think that that's law. It is not law. They're operating on the color of law. And any right that you have that's being taken away from you on the color of law is a crime. Like I said, you have to hold these people responsible. Stop complaining and stop crying, okay? You are the one that's allowing yourself to suffer, because that's what suffer means. All right? Suffer means that you are allowing it. The pain, the suffrage, you are allowing it. You did. I already checked my email, fam. I called you and left a message. All right? You dig? Now, let us step into another part of this information. First, I'm gonna go a little, we're gonna get into on drip a little bit, and we're gonna get into a drip a little bit. Okay? I'm not gonna read all of on drip. All right? I'm just gonna read a few things, a few of the articles of on drip. As you know, Obama signed on drip, well, adopted on drip from the UN. All right, in 2007. And here it is. So we're going to read a few of the articles. That's all we're going to do. Just to let you know, as indigenous people, we have rights. Okay? Number one, the first article. Indigenous peoples have the right to the full enjoyment as a collective or as individuals. So whether you are part of a collective, meaning a group, a community, a nation, a clan, or as an individual, you have rights of all human rights and fundamental freedoms as recognized in the Charter of the United Nations, the Universal Declaration on the Rights of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and international human rights law. So therefore, anytime you identify yourself as indigenous, if you are, then it no longer becomes domestic. It becomes international. So therefore, you could make claims within the international court. The international human rights law applied to you because you are no longer domesticated. All right? Once you have declared that. All right? Article number 2. Indigenous peoples and individuals are free and equal to all other peoples and individuals and have the right to be free from any kind of what? Discrimination in the exercise of their rights, in particular that based on their indigenous origin, what? Or identity. So the rights that you proclaim or you claim is based on what? Our indigenous origin or identity. So they cannot tell us or determine what those rights are. We determine that because we existed before their corporations. But of course, you are tied into the contracts. All right? You are tied into the contracts. So you are obligated. Article number 3. We indigenous peoples have the right to what? Self-determination. If you don't know what that means, we're going to look it up. By virtue of the right, it say they, but I'm going to say we determine our political status and freely pursue our economic, social, and cultural development. Let us go look at what self-determination means. Okay? Self-determination. The process by which a country determines its own statehood and forms its own allegiance and government. So therefore, if as indigenous people, we have a right to what? Let's get to that again. We have a right to self-determination. What is the implication here, Chief Kalinago? The implication is it's a process by which a country, so therefore, a country meaning that you are a country. You are an individual country. Yes, you alone. You are a country. You alone are a state. You alone is the soil. You alone is the land. You alone is your own government. And you determine your own statehood and forms its own allegiance and government. So your own home is your government. You could have a flag for your house. In fact, you could have a flag for yourself because you have a right to self-identify. Self-determination, that's what it means. The process by which a person controls their own life. How much more clearer can I make it? You are the state. You are the estate. You are a country. You are the land. You are the soil. You are the universe. You are God. Let's read. 4. Indigenous peoples, in exercising their right to self-determination, have the right to what? Autonomy or self-government in matters relating to their internal and local affairs, as well as ways and means of financing their autonomous functions. If you don't know what autonomous means, let us go look it up. I know what it means, but let's go look it up. Let's go look it up. Give me a second here, please. All right, let's go look it up. Autonomous. Autonomous.
Autonomous.
Okay, here we go. All right. Of a country or region having freedom to govern itself or control its own affairs. So once again, who's the country? If you guys could type that in the chat. Who is the country? Who's the land? Who's the soil? Who's the government? Let me see if you're paying attention. Who's the country? I'm looking for a response in the chat. Who is the country? If you have a right to self-identify and self-determination and to be autonomous, then who's the country? I just said it a little while ago. Waiting for a few responses in the chat. Let me see if my indigenous brothers and sisters are actually paying attention. Let me stop sharing here for a second. Let me come back to y'all. There we go. Yes. All right. You know, what I would like you guys to yes, there you go. I am. That's exactly what you were supposed to put. I am. That's it. I am the country. I am the land. I am the soil. That's when it becomes personal. And then once you have identified the I am in you as the country, as the government, then you come together, okay? And we become the people. See how simple that was? That's when you know self. Know thyself. Okay? That's it. Now, let us proceed. So I'm not going to read the rest of, I'm not going to read the entire thing. I've done that in videos before, right? But I just wanted to show you that that's there, that you could use, okay, on drip. United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People. Now, they also gave us what? They also gave us the American Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People. And I think that was adopted by Trump or given to us by Trump in 2016. And I think that was June 15th or June 16th of 2015. I mean, of 2016. Let me just go up here and make sure real quick. All right. When was it adopted? Yes, June 15th, 2016. And I'm going to read a few of the articles because what it is, when Trump got in power, one of the first things Trump wanted to do was Trump wanted to get out of the UN. But he had to also put something in place for the indigenous people. So they gave us American Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, but nobody's enforcing it because we ain't stepping up. You see what I'm saying? We have things there to protect us, but we ain't using it. We are not making sure it becomes law. because we're too busy fighting each other. We're too busy trying to figure out who was here first and who wasn't here last. We're too busy differentiating amongst ourselves. Well, you are this or you are not that. But at the end of the day, or the continuation of life, whatever perspective you got, we are all dealing with the same oppression, with the same genocide. That's why I told y'all my message is changing, and it has changed. Because I'm not going to get into all that stuff no more. I can't tell people who you are. Be who you want to be. Who am I to tell you that you are not an American Aboriginal? Do you? But I'm going to put the information out there. You feel me? So we have American Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People. We're going to read a few of the articles. Section 1, it deals with Indigenous peoples' scope of application. Article 1. 1. The American Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples applies to Indigenous peoples of the Americas. All right? Now, you know, when they speak of Indigenous people of the Americas, we know who they are, right? We already look at what Indigenous mean, but I would like to go over once more because repetition is the key. All right? I'm going to go over and show you guys the etymology of Indigenous. All right? Etymology of Indigenous. Etymology of Indigenous. Because Indigenous is a broad term. That's why anybody could be Indigenous. That's how they play the games, all right? So the UN or the government or the state, whatever you want to call them, right? They left the term Indigenous because it's ambiguous. Anybody who's born a native is Indigenous. So let us look at the etymology of Indigenous. Right here, it says what? Born or originating in a particular place. Simple as that. That's it. We don't have to go any further. Born or originating. And someone who is born is a native. So therefore, natives are also Indigenous. But they are not originating. So you see, that's where we differentiate ourselves from people who are claiming to be the original people. Yes, we are Indigenous, but we are original Indigenous people. Meaning that we are born and originating. But for them, they are only born. All right? I just wanted to show the differentiation in and show you how ambiguous Indigenous, the term Indigenous is. All right? So it says, 1, the American Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples applies to the Indigenous peoples of the Americas. It didn't say the United States. It says the Americas. So we are still connected. We are still one family. We are still one blood. We are still one landmass. All right? So for all you South Americans and so-called Caribbean people, just so if you didn't know, you are Americans. Okay? The United States is not America. Number 2, self-identification as Indigenous peoples will be the fundamental criteria for determining to whom this declaration applies. So in other words, they're saying that we cannot tell you who this applies to. You determine that. It is based on self-determination, self-governance. Even the United States is telling you that. Even Trump is telling you, man, listen, you have a right to self-identify. Okay? The states shall respect the right to such self-identification as Indigenous peoples, individually or collectively, in keeping with the practices and institutions of what? Each Indigenous people. So therefore, you get to make your own constitution. So you don't need to call me and say, hey, Chief, well, how do I do this? How do I do that? It is up to you. You create your own the way you want to. I'm just giving you the knowledge. And I'm giving it to you for free because I love you. But when you want my service, you're going to have to compensate me for that. Because I got a family to take care of. We're going to have to find a way to barter. But I'm giving you the knowledge. If you feel to support, great. If you don't, then that's on you. But I'm still going to give it to you. But I'm going to make sure you have the information so you can do what you got to do. I am tired of seeing my brothers and sisters get caught up in this jam, man. Family, it's not happening to you because you are black. It is because of ignorance, the lack of knowledge. And then you have all these prominent so-called leaders and teachers and people you look up to, calling you black and African American, and you this and you that, not realizing you have no rights. You don't exist because they're being paid. Number two rather, Article 2. The states recognize and respect the multicultural and multilingual character of the indigenous peoples who are an integral part of societies. Now, a lot of these natives always come and talk about, oh, how could you be the original people? How come? What's your language? You know what our language is? Ebonics, Patois. That's our language. You feel me? Because everything else was taken from us, so we had to create our own language. So Ebonics is our language. Patois is our language. You know what we speak in the Caribbean? That's our language. Because they always like to come with that. Like we don't know what happened. If you don't know what happened, our languages, our dialects were taken away from us. So we have to create something. You feel me? So when you hear Trini say, yo, what happened, boy? Where are you doing? That is what? That's our language. That's our dialect. So don't stop letting these people play us, man. Family, man, like I said, we got to get it together, man. We got to get it together. And I'm not upset. It's just the passion in me, man. It's the love I have for us. That's the fire that's in me. I'm a fire sign, all right? March 23rd, in the beginning of the new year, all right? Aries is the head of all the houses. That's just so you know what type of personality I got. You feel me? All right? Article 3. We indigenous people have the right, again, it's redundant, to self-determination. By virtue of the right, they freely determine their political status and freely pursue their economic, social, and cultural development. So why aren't we coming together and having hemp as a business? That's our indigenous plant. Article 4. Article 4. Nothing in this declaration may be interpreted as implying for any state, people, group, or person any right to engage in any activity or to perform any act contrary to the Charter of the Organization of American States, which is OAS. I had a few meetings with them. When they realized I must have been serious, they stopped corresponding with me. But for weeks I was talking to them, and I was supposed to set up a meeting. All right? But I'm going to get on that again. Okay? But I just wanted to go through a couple of those. Go look it up for yourself. UNDRIP, United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, and ADRIP, American Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People. Now, there is always a provision, all right? They will tell you that, well, this is not legally binding. And they are absolutely correct. You see, they always give themselves some wiggle room to violate your rights. Because when you bring up UNDRIP, which they are a party to, and when you bring up ADRIP, which they are a party to, they will tell you, oh, well, it's not legally binding. Well, let me show you how you make it legally binding. Let me show you what you tie into it to make it legally binding. So what you're going to do is this, okay? First off, we're going to look at Title 18, okay? Title 18, Section 242. Section 242 of Title 18 makes it a crime. You hear me? It's a crime for a person acting under color of any law to willfully deprive a person of rights or privilege protected by the Constitution or laws of the United States. All right? So this is how you tie it in. So now, doesn't UNDRIP and doesn't the United Nations Declarations and American Declaration deals with rights? Well, those are your rights. Those are your rights. And doesn't the United States got a constitution? So those are your rights. So when they tell you, hey, you know what, it's not legally binding, boom, you slap them with Title 18, Section 242. You tie it all together. So now it is all legally binding. Because guess what? They swore an oath to the Constitution. Even if they didn't swear an oath to the United Nations, or they didn't swear an oath to uphold ADRIP, guess what? You swore an oath to this right here. And anytime you're acting under the color of law and you're violating my right, you're willfully doing that, this is a crime. Okay? For the purpose of Section 242, acts on the color of law include acts not only done by federal, state, or local officials within their lawful authority, but also acts done by beyond the bounds of that official lawful authority if the acts are done while the official is purporting to or pretending to act in the performance of his or her official duties. Persons acting on the color of law within the meaning of this statute include police officers, there you go, prison guards, and other law enforcement officials, as well as who? Judges, care providers in public health facilities, and others, including child care people, all right, who are acting what? They are all actors, acting as public officials. It is not necessary that the crime be motivated by animus toward the race, color, religious, sex, handicap, familial status, or national origin of a victim. The offense is punishable by a range of imprisonment up to a lifetime or death penalty. You see, y'all don't realize how serious this is. All right, they could go to jail for a lifetime or a death penalty, depending on the circumstances of the crime and resulting in the injury, if any. On the color of law. Well, Chief, what is color of law? Let's go look that up. Okay, let's go look up color of law. All right, let's go look at color of law. Color of law refers to an act done under the appearance of legal authorization. It's only an appearance because illegal is not lawful. That's why it's color of law. Legal is of law, but law is not of legal. You make the law. But they created a system, a municipal system that deals with legalities. That's why it's called the color of law. All right? It applies when a person is acting. Once again, here we go, the word acting. When you go to the movies and you see Denzel Washington acting, trust me, there's a director saying cut. There's a director saying action. They are all actors. So how can they be the actor and be the director? Don't allow that to happen. We are the directors. So we get to say cut and we got to say action. That's why they bring action suits against you. Brothers and sisters, I'm just showing you the game. Isn't the action taken against you? Because they are actors and they're also making themselves the directors. And it says what? Acting on the real or apparent government authority. The term is used in the Federal Civil Rights Act. Once again, the term is used in what? The Federal Civil Rights Act, which citizens gave the right to sue government officials and the agents who use the authority to violate rights guaranteed by federal law. Well, Chief, you mean, hold up. What you talking about, Federal Civil Rights Act? That's right, I just said that. Boom. Let's go to civil rights. Civil rights. What does it say here? Long title. An act to prescribe penalties for certain acts of violence or intimidation and for other purposes. What the nicknames are? Indian Civil Rights Act and Indian Bills of Rights. Who are the Indians? Who are the American Indians? You see how I'm tying everything in. Okay, so just know that Title 18, Section 242, that's a crime punishable by life in prison. So when they tell you, oh, well, UNDRIP is not legally binding, oh, well, ADRIP is not legally binding, well, yes, it is, because guess what? I'm tying it in with Title 18, Section 242. You're going to go to jail today, buddy. I'm going to make sure you go to jail. Make sure you go to jail. Okay? Let us go to the next one. 241. Title 18, 241. It deals, all right, Section 241 of Title 18 is the Civil Rights Conspiracy Statute. Once again, civil rights is what again? Indian Civil Rights Act, Indian Bill of Rights. They're talking about us. All right, let's continue. It says what? Section 241 makes it unlawful for two or more persons to agree together to injure, threaten, or intimidate a person in any state, territory, or district in free exercise or enjoyment of any right or privileges secured to him, her by the Constitution or the laws of the United States, or because of his or her exercise the same. I'm going to read that again, just in case y'all missed that. I'm gonna read that again. You see, reading, you have to read with understanding. All right. Section 241 of Title 18 is the Civil Rights Conspiracy Statute. Section 241 makes it unlawful for two or more persons to agree together to injure, threaten, or intimidate a person in any state, territory, or district in the free exercise or enjoyment of any right. Your indigenous rights are a right. Okay? Or privilege, it says right or privilege. Remember, a right and a privilege is two different things. That's why they say or. You have natural rights given to you by your creator, but they have privileges that they gave you. You have two choices. It's either you're going to stand on your rights or the privileges that they gave you. All right? And it's secured to him or her by the Constitution, or it says what? All the laws of the United States. And guess what? Here's another or. So if you say, you know what? I don't want no Constitution rights. I don't want no laws, so no laws to protect me from the United States. It says what? Or because of his or her having exercised the same. In other words, meaning that if I tell you that this is my right, guess what? It is protected by the Constitution. Even if it's not in the Constitution. I.e. what? Indigenous people's rights. You see how you tie it in? Y'all gonna learn today if you want to learn. Unlike most conspiracy statutes, Section 241 does not require that one of the conspirators commit an overt act prior to the conspiracy becoming a crime. The offense is punishable by a range of imprisonment up to what? A lifetime, or the death penalty, depending upon the circumstances of the crime and resulting in injury, if any. So you see how 241 and 242 ties in indigenous people's rights? Let's make sure they go to jail for life. Get the death penalty. It is that serious. Okay? It is that serious. So, that's all I got for you, I think. There we go. There you go. All right. Once again, we are the indigenous people, and you have to know. You have to know, man. You have to hold these people liable. Hold them liable. You feel me? You got to hold them liable, man. So anyway, just wanted to come drop that information for y'all. And once again, like I said, show your support. All right, I haven't seen anybody support it yet, but you know, hopefully you guys will appreciate it and show your support. All right. So, just wanted to drop that information for y'all. I hope you enjoyed it. You know, go ahead and do your own research. You don't have to believe anything I say. Go cross-reference everything. All right, and see how you could make it applicable to your life as an indigenous man or woman. All right. So I just showed you how you could tie all that in, or you could tie all that in to make it legally binding. All right, make it legally binding. And before I leave, I want to share a piece of information with you. Okay, before I leave. So I'm gonna take these links and I'm gonna put it in the chat for you, so you will have it. Okay, deprivation of rights. Even if it's below the video, I'm still gonna put it in there. Okay. Conspiracy, section 241, right here. And of course, the civil rights, nicknamed Indian Civil Rights and Indian Bill of Rights, right here. Okay, and of course, the two definitions of indigenous is right here. So all that stuff is how do you send your support? I just put my my Cash App in the link. So you could do that. Indonesia, ambitious. All right. Thanks for asking. I really appreciate that. All right. Not too many people ask. So that's good. Thank you. All right. So just wanted to give you guys that information. All that information is in the link. And like I said, before I get out of here, let me just share another thing with you. And again, this is not legal advice. I'm just saying, if it were me, that's what I would do. All right. Which I definitely, me myself, I have to put all that together. All right. Okay. I'm going to share this with that because I'm showing indigenous people, all right, how to protect ourselves. Okay. If you don't know how to protect yourself, you cannot protect your children. Okay. All right. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully this is for final time, just for this build. All right. Let's go to definition. All right. Now, again, I'm not here to give legal advice, but if it were me, this is what I would do. A lot of times our people are subjected, all right, to the unfairness or the injustices of this system. And when you get caught up in a situation, nobody could do anything for you on the outside because they don't have the authority. So if it were me, I'm only telling you what I would do because I'm not here to give you advice. But if it were me, what I would do is I would create a power of attorney. Have at least 3 or 4 power of attorneys, and they don't even have to know of each other. All right. And who or what is a power of attorney? The authority to act for another person in a specified or legal or financial matters. A legal document giving power of attorney to someone. So in other words, it has to be somebody that you trust, because you don't want people doing things in your, on your behalf and you didn't authorize it, right? So if you have a spouse that you trust, your mother, your father, your brother, your sister, a cousin, a dear friend, okay, that you trust them, you give them power of attorney. So therefore, if you do, it's an insurance policy. Family, we got to learn how to protect each other. This is about the community, the village. I am my brother's keeper. I am my sister's keeper. That's your power of attorney. So when they jam you up and they, oh, well, you cannot do anything, guess what? You have somebody who could act on your behalf. So what I would do if I were you is I would do a power of attorney with at least 3 different people. They don't even have to know that this person is a power of attorney, meaning that each power of attorney don't have to know of each other. Okay? And you do a power of attorney. So if you do end up in a situation and you cannot do your documents or whatever you could do, or you cannot seek any type of outside counsel, guess what? You got a power of attorney. And they could do all that stuff on your behalf because you give them the authority. So once you do your power of attorney, you want to make sure you put that in a secure place and let somebody know that you trust where it's at. So just in case something do happen, your power of attorneys, they have authority to come on your behalf. Now, all right, power of attorney. Well, you may ask, well, Chief, how do I do that? What do I get a power of attorney? All right, power of attorney templates. All right, and then you adjust it in the way that you want to. There are many templates, all right, for power of attorney. All you have to do is put in power of attorney template and adjust it to your fitting, all right, so it works for you. And once you have done that, you get that notarized. All right, get that notarized with, you would even add witnesses to it. 2 witnesses, 3 witnesses, and then you get it notarized. You do a jurat and you get it notarized. All right, and then you make your copies, you put it in a secure place, and you only let somebody you trust know where it's at. All 3 power of attorneys, or 2 or 3 or 4, how many power of attorneys that you want. You could have as many as you want. All right, so if something do happen to you, like I told y'all before, you don't get insurance for your car because you want to get into an accident. Okay, you get insurance just in case. So your power of attorney is your insurance. It's just in case you get into a situation and you can't do anything on your behalf. Now somebody could take legal actions for you. All right, that's what I would have done if I were you. All right, so just giving you guys some information, man. That's it. All right, well, family, you guys enjoy the rest of your continuation. I may or may not do another build later. I'll see what's up. Got a couple of things I got to do. But if the ancestors put it in my spirit that some other information needs to be put out, then I'll put it out. But until then, you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Continue to grow. Continue to study. And like I said, man, just make this applicable. Just make this applicable to your life, where it's all about protecting ourselves as the indigenous people of the land. All right, we have to find ways to hold these people accountable. Okay, in your individual capacity and as a group / community / a clan / a nation. Okay, I appreciate love you guys. Hope you enjoyed this build. Again, if you found that the information was, you found some, it could help you or benefit you, then by all means, feel free to support. All right, cool. So talk to you guys later. Okay, peace, love, harmony, and light.